What is going on, guys? This is the Plan C podcast. You already know, coming here today with a podcast on the movie Parasite. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but it is fantastic, and this will be our kind of thoughts and reviews on the movie. I'm here today, one of your hosts at Stoic Lotus, with your boy.
What's going on? Colin here.
You already know what it is, but as you guys probably have heard us before, please follow us at plan_C_podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You already know it.
We're not on
everything. We're not on Facebook. Fuck. Anyways, this will be a fun pod. I hope you guys enjoy it. It was definitely fun to watch. And there were some crazy shots, crazy themes, crazy sound design and everything. And I hope we can get that across to you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Just welcome everyone. Welcome to Quentin Quarantino Part 2. Big shout out to our sound editor, James, at the Jimmy Mac on Instagram. If you haven't checked out some of his beats, check them out. They're pretty great. Keep your eyes open for our second sticker, which has I guess will be released by the time this is done editing. You got anything else before we jump into it?
Not too much. Just hope you guys are safe and healthy. Protesters, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I support y'all. You already know what it is. We're just hoping to give you guys some enjoyment during this time in quarantine when the world is exploding. So,
yep. Black Lives Matter.
Yep. Hope you guys enjoy the pod.
Let's go. All right, guys. This is Quentin Quarantino Part 2. We have just watched Parasite. For some background, I had seen it before. Cameron had not. But
as before,
in terms of, experience with the medium, in terms of like Korean media, nobody I know is more experienced in that field than Cameron, who watches lots and lots of K-dramas.
And I read a lot of webtoons.
A lot of webtoons. You heard it himself. So just a heads up to anyone who hasn't seen it. I don't really want to okay, so first, we can't recommend this movie enough. I'm just gonna go into this before spoilers because I really, really don't want to spoil this movie for anyone just because how fucking good it is. See this movie. It's on Hulu. Just please see it.
It is definitely worth it. I would say 100% recommendation, especially even if you're an artist or any creative, the shots and everything are just fucking incredible. It is, even if might be wary about the tone of it, it is still, I think, worth watching regardless.
I think a lot of people can take away some stuff. Okay,
so
for sure. This is your official warning. Spoilers from here on out. I'm not necessarily going to spoil something right now, but I just don't really want to care about it. So, yeah, here we go. Okay, Cameron.
What's up?
Just your thoughts. Go.
The thing that really struck me about the movie is especially the way they set up the social structures amongst the characters and their surroundings and stuff like that. Like how they had the poor characters being underground, and while the other characters were in this elaborate labyrinth, which I think they actually just made the set entirely for the movie, which is also incredible.
And it just lots of stuff to do with light.
Yeah, light, and even the way that they were using characters senses of smell to represent social inequity and stuff like that was super smart. And there are a lot of motivations that characters don't necessarily outright tell you, but you can figure out from just the scenes and their actions and what they're doing. Everything kind of makes sense. I never felt like I was lost, despite there not being characters just stating their motivations all the time.
Yeah, to be honest with you, there's such a lack of exposition. And I think the fact that, you could watch this movie without subtitles and not know Korean and still know what the fuck is going on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think the writing is that good and the directing is that good where you just again, you literally don't even need the subtitles to really understand what's going on. And just it's the ultimate sort of example of showing, not telling. Which like a lot of movies get into trouble with exposition and just like pouring out exposition. And like I can't even remember a single scene where it was necessarily someone just unloading exposition. These people, it was just living life, you know?
Yeah, like I really liked the pacing of the movie because of just like the way it flowed. It was very like scene by scene. It wasn't like huge leaps in time or anything like that throughout the entire movie. It was just a very continuous thread. And they still were able to like establish all the characters really well, like as you ran into them. You know what I mean? Like there were characters that you only saw maybe for a few minutes, but like in that scene, and sometimes they come back, but in that scene, like you get like a sense of where they are in the social situation that the movie's taking place, despite them only really showing like a few areas, despite some long shots when they're running. So it's definitely like just excellent shot taking and location. Fantastic.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed was that they use the tones of clothing, like when they're really themselves, not, you know, the personas of the people helping the family. You know, when they're just wearing their regular clothes, the tones are so much just like they're just like earth tones and just like not bright at all, no vibrant colors. And then you look at the clothes that, you know, the rich people are wearing, and like it's so nice. And I mean, I know that's sort of how it is regularly, or not regularly, but you know what I'm saying. I just think that it was very interesting that they did that.
Yeah, it was like the contrast between seeing the characters in like the rich situation versus the poor situation. And like, especially like the first thing I noticed was like the posture and kind of like the way the characters sit when they were in the underground place. A lot of the time they were like crouched, like when
hunched over.
They were like walking very kind of like slovenly, I guess would be the word. But like as soon as they entered the other scenario, the high status scenario, they were like immediately like fixed their posture, very forward. And it was just like interesting to see how the director, I guess, distinguishes the difference between the disposition of like a rich person and a poor person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And just back on the pacing, I couldn't agree more that the pacing was just absolutely fucking amazing. I think they do such a good job with, you know, showing the passage of time in these scenes, even though it's like, you know, it's like it's it skips a bit, and then it's the 2 nights, and then it's just, or the 2 days, I guess, and then it's just, you know, fast again. I just think that's really smart to do, and sort of getting into the 2 days where shit literally hit the fan. I think that's a great choice. And I also just want to say, car scenes, making them look like that, that's hard. Not a lot of movies can do that, because I assume that was CGI. I don't know. It would shock me if it was real, but holy shit, they did such a good job with that. I don't know, just a small detail that like it's really easy to fuck up, but
for sure.
But just the fact that like it, you know, it existed, it was just like, okay, the technical side of this movie is insane.
For sure.
Insane. Like the sound design alone, it's, oh my God, it's so good.
And like specifically in the car scene, one of my favorite shots was when the guy, he had like, I think it was tea or coffee. I think it was coffee. But the way that when the driver was driving and he would turn, like the the coffee would actually like move depending on the turn, and like when you turned, you saw the light coming through the window. So it was like you knew exactly kind of where the sun was, despite not being outside. Like lighting wise, framing like was just absolutely exceptional.
Yeah, it's such crazy attention to detail. I mean, that just tells me that there was so much love put into this movie. You feel me?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Every shot was like definitely like painstakingly taken in some way or another, or effortlessly, whichever way you want to take it. But it was like every shot where someone was placed there for a reason. Like if you saw a character where it was like a long shot, then it made you feel the emotion of like either loneliness, or it could be just like immense wealth, depending on where they put it. But it was like very accurate in terms of what they were trying to make you feel just by people walking through spaces. Like, I don't know, there was I noticed the long amount of time that they just had characters just like walking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like walking through a space, running through a space, just like like barely any even sound at times, like almost dead silent, just moving through a space. And they were able to just capture a lot of the characters' emotions as well as like their position inside the movie just by shots like that.
Yeah. And yeah, just if you want to name something better than the sound design in this movie, it's the cinematography. Well, you know what? I don't even know. I can't even say that because just everything is at a 9 or a 10 for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's no bad shots. You're absolutely on the nose when you say that every shot has its purpose. That's absolutely correct. And it's brilliant cinematography. And even when it's the son and the daughter standing watching over the party, and you see the son's reflection on the window, and he's like kind of looking at himself. Like, oh my God, I can't imagine how they did that shot, because they had to like digitally do something to the face on the other side of the window in that reflection. But just like the literal duality of the movie, that's like, and you're showing it by like a reflection in the window. I don't know. There's so many layers to this movie.
Yeah, like the fact that he's in that scene, he was literally saying like, "Can I be like them?"
Yep.
And he's looking out the window, but he only sees himself. So it's like it's almost saying that like he can't. You know,
Yep.
it was such like a great scene, and the girl that was with him was just like, "What are you talking about? Everything's fine." And I found that also interesting, that the way they showed like the difference in class. For example, the younger characters like couldn't see it. Like she had no idea that he was from a lesser class than her, which is why she couldn't see it. But like the father, for example, who was like the breadwinner and like this huge successful company, like he couldn't get over the smell of the main cast of the characters from the lower zone. It was like,
I don't know if it's necessarily an older younger thing, because like the son was the one who what was his name? Ki-sung?
Oh, you're definitely right. Yeah. He was the first one to notice.
Yeah, he's an op.
Well, he said they all smelled the same.
Yeah.
But the father said that they smelled like weeds or like the subway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. There's sort of like, you know what? I guess it's sort of, it could be looked at as like an innocence type of thing.
Yeah.
Like the kid recognizes the smell, but just doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to attribute it to. He just knows that they smell the same. Where the father just goes like, "Oh, that's freaking poverty." While the wife doesn't even like, she kind of smelled it. Like you saw it like when she was in the car towards the latter end of the movie.
Oh my God. And she puts her finger
up to the nose.
That was hilarious.
Oh man. That was just like a great moment of building tension. But like even it was just the way that they were using scent, I guess, to show social disparity was just like amazing to me. It was like, and it was just like throughout the entire movie, just great.
Yeah, it's just, again, there's so many subtle things that, just like even the thing with the light in the end, like that hope and just like the light, whatever that represents, I don't know. It just like, it's crazy to me.
No, like one of the things that the thing that I think I liked the most about this movie almost was that like morally, even though like the like a bunch of horrible shit happened in this movie, but
Oh
like
my God.
there was no like good guy or bad guy. Like everyone was just kind of morally
No,
neutral.
it's all gray. It's all fucking gray.
It's all just like there's no scene where you're like kind of like sure you kind of want characters to like escape or win at certain points in the movie, but it's not like there's like a villain or anything like that. They're all just people.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I felt pretty conflicted about how I felt about the movie in the end, especially my second time watching it. Like my second time watching it, when he's like walking up and he sees his son, like I'm not going to say I had tears in my eyes, but it definitely sort of elicited an emotional reaction from me. Is that proper semantics there?
I believe so.
Yeah. Nice. And I don't know. I was like, I'm happy for him, but this man's also a killer.
Oh yeah, he definitely killed the dude in like total cold blood. Like there was like
oh yeah,
like you could see it building up in terms of like how he couldn't stand the way that he was being looked at.
Mm-hmm. And then the stuff with the Native American headdress and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then when
well, you should explain that because people that haven't seen the movie won't know.
Oh, okay. So at one point in the movie, it's the rich man's son's birthday. And they had a camping trip that had gotten canceled, so they were throwing a party in their backyard. And essentially, one of the main characters has to wear a Native American headdress and sort of like play along in a little skit, essentially. And at one point, it's the rich man and his driver, who is the guy wearing the headdress, and they're both wearing headdresses. And like they're just sort of talking, but it didn't feel that amicable, Like the words felt crunchy.
That's a good way to describe it. Like it just felt like weird because it was one of the times where they were like any time that I felt like the two characters were brought to the same level in a way, like they're both wearing the same headdress, they're both crouching down, or like they're both in the car, and there's always that like that one thing that kind of tips it off where the richer guy would kind of just be like, you're not on my level. You know what I mean? It's like always.
Like, even in the end, the pure lack of caring for the woman who just got stabbed. And like, you're not even like, bring her to. You're literally just like, give me the keys. I don't know. I was just like, oh yeah, like right there. That's super fucked up.
Yeah. Or when
like,
he rolled over the dead guy and like the first thing he thought was like, oh, that smells like shit. Like, wow, bro.
Yeah, that was pretty fucked up. And it was wild too, because it was like, oh, he definitely got stabbed with the keys. Oh, goddamn.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you had questions.
I have some questions for you. Favorite shot in the movie?
Favorite shot in the movie? It might be when the father was like dragging himself away and you just saw his feet.
And the feet. Yeah, that's a good one. I have 3 answers for you if you are done, because I've obviously had a lot more time to think about this. So when they're in the gymnasium and it's just the shot of him with his arm over his eyes and it just like stays there and it's steady. I love that shot.
Oh yeah.
The reflecting shot that I talked about earlier, I love that one. And I love the one when they're running down the stairs in the rain and it's the really, really far out shot. Oh
that was
my
that was what I
God.
was gonna say too.
Oh my God.
And they were just like kind of like running down. It was
Yeah.
like it was great. Metaphorical, bro.
Yeah. Just in terms of capturing tone, this movie does such a good job of just being like, yep, people are really fucked up. And if you're not in the same fucking wage classes, most people, they're gonna fucking disrespect you.
Oh, for sure. Also,
there's obviously a lot more than that to the movie, but
one shot I wanted to actually mention was the shot where their house is flooded and the daughter is on the toilet that is like literally like sewage.
Yeah.
And like the water is rising and she's just sitting there like smoking a cigarette. Like she went all the way in there and she's just like just to smoke a cigarette.
There was money in there too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And in the cigarette box.
Yeah. But it was like she found the money and the cigarettes and then she was just like calm despite being in this like totally just like screwed situation.
If that's me, I'm throwing up all over the place. Do you see how much poop is coming out of that toilet?
No, it's horrendous. No, I don't even want to think about it.
I also think it's I'll get to the questions and I'll get back to the questions in a sec. I just think it's really interesting how after they literally murder the former housekeeper that their life like immediately goes to shit after that, literally.
That
it's
good. All right. So but like yeah, I definitely saw that. It was like they were kind of doing like morally vague type of stuff. Like like getting someone fired, but like the moment they kind of like crossed that like threshold, it was clearly like a very pivotal moment in the movie where it's just like, okay, now there are going to be consequences.
Yep.
And people die.
Because to that point hadn't really been any consequences. I just think that the symbolism of the sort of money rock is also very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like in the beginning, it's sort of the symbol of their luck, right?
Yeah.
And then it's with this luck that the daughter dies, the father goes into hiding for however long. They're on probation. The son probably has like lasting brain damage because of both their luck and the rock, and just like the literal him dropping the rock. It's kind of symbolic for me.
Yeah, I also kind of saw like the rock as like weight. You know what I mean? Like almost just like the weight that anchors them down to the life of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I saw him like going to like bring the rock to the place, I was like, oh, he's going to use the rock to kill the dude to kind of.
Oh, you thought that?
Yeah, in a way.
Oh, okay.
That's like
interesting.
It was like it was gonna be the moment where it releases him from that weight, and then it was used against him. So in a way, it was like, to me, it was like, it shows like how difficult it is to socially progress. It's not easy. And like, even in like, especially in Korea, I should say, not even in Korea, just how much weight there is when you're in a situation where you're making money by folding boxes for pizza, you know what I mean? And like, that's like the only that's all you can do. It's not like they had any opportunities. They had to like literally make their opportunities.
Literally looking for free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So okay. So in terms of sound design, can you remember specifically something that like what really just like caught you? That was like, wow, that's like that really does sound like that or something like that?
You should go first. 'Cause I actually haven't thought about that.
So the one thing for me that I noticed for first time and I wanted to pay attention a little bit more this time was footsteps. They do such a good job with footsteps, and it's kind of stupid to say, but like they really got it down packed. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they used like chicken cutlets and slapped them on rocks or something like that, but they really got the sound of like foot on stone, because that's what a large part of like the walking sounds are in this movie, whether it's in the bunker or in the really nice house or in their sort of basement home. That was absolutely one thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I could definitely see that because there was also just like a lot of scenes where there was like almost silence and then you could just hear the footsteps. Like I think one of the strongest things about the movie was definitely the use of silence throughout the movie was like immaculate. But beyond that, things that I thought sounded very good were like rain and rushing water was just like really
good
really
point.
accurate.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. Another question I have for you. What was your opinion? Not opinion. What was your reaction when the door was opened?
The door was opened?
Yeah.
Like the first time?
Yeah.
I didn't really know what to expect necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the door to the basement, correct?
The door to the bunker, yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure what to expect, but it definitely did like I was like, "Oh, is that like symbolic to like the tunnel to hell?" Was definitely one of like my first kind of thoughts because like just the way it just went down and like it was like as soon as they were going down there, I knew that like they were going back to the basement, you know?
Yeah.
It's like this it was like the equivalent to where they were living within the household.
Yeah, the one thing just that the door sort of reminds me of is this movie does such a fucking good job of like having such a grand scale and yet being grounded in reality. Like the first time that door is open, I'm like, oh my God, is there a torture chamber underneath? Like, do they have slaves? Like, what the fuck? And then it's like, oh no, that's like totally legit. Like, yeah, that sounds like it could happen.
The bunker?
Yeah. And just having sort of a loved one down there. Yeah, I didn't quite understand if he had like sort of deteriorated in the basement or he was like really hungry and that's why he was like he didn't seem normal, or if it was something before then. I don't know, but it was definitely sort of another connection to society in a way. You know, you have people like come down to your level literally and then like not be able to understand you, you know?
No, I definitely feel you. Like when I saw him and the way he was, like when you first saw him, like he's literally kind of being fed with like a baby bottle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I think that they were trying to show like he used to actually run like a shop. And I was like, well, he probably wouldn't have been able to run a shop in that state. So I think it was showing like when you're in the basement or if you're in like where the main characters lived before, like the amount of damage it does just being there, you know, just existing there, and like how it can change your perspective on things and almost just like change who you are just by being in that type of environment. So to me, it was just like it showed like the effects of being within that socioeconomic class as well as like being in all the environment and culture that goes with it.
Yeah, that's totally legit. On to my next question. Who was your favorite character?
Favorite character. I would say my favorite character, it's probably the sister.
I didn't think you were gonna say that.
Like the son was also a great character to me,
Yeah, I
just
thought
in
you were gonna
terms
say
of
the son.
yeah, it's like it's definitely a toss up between them because the son just like the complexities and like the way he saw himself to me
Mm,
was very interesting. Like how he knew that he wasn't one of them and he didn't know exactly how to be one of them, but he was trying to plan and how everything fell apart and like what that meant to him. Like he couldn't stop laughing when it was over. It was like he had definitely had like a very interesting character arc, but the sister in terms of her personality was like fascinating to me because she was very selfish, was
hmm
kind of like one of the clear character traits to want to get across, but she never seemed like unhappy.
mm.
Was interesting to me. It was like she was almost so natural in her. I don't know. It was like
In
because
her
even
way.
yeah, in her way, because it was even when the brother said to her was like, "Oh, I could totally see you being in this
Mm.
scenario, like being rich in this big house, taking a bath, watching TV." It was like she felt she felt like she belonged, which was like something that was definitely interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, word, you're right. Um personally, I love the mom, the rich mom. I
Yeah,
I think I think she's fucking
she's
hilarious.
hilarious.
Oh my god. And it's definitely the unintentional humor that they're going for, but like wow, she is just the best and just the worst at the same time. Um
Yeah, for sure.
I also really like the dad up until he murders the rich dad. Uh yeah, I thought he was really funny and pretty relatable, honestly.
Yeah, until he murdered that dude out of
Yeah.
nowhere. I was like, come on, man. Like he was like definitely gonna be one of my favorite characters, and that just like totally changed my perspective on him. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, the writing was on the wall in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah. Second time through, it's definitely like, oh, yep, yep, I see it there. Oh, yeah. Oh God.
Like
Oh
you
God.
could, it's like anytime like someone directly brought up his class or like someone's like noticed the smell, like you could see in his face just like the shift.
Mm-hmm.
It was like even when like the wife was joking about him being a cockroach and he was
Uh-huh.
and like he pretended to be angry, but I think it's because like when someone else does it that's like not his family is when it's real. You know what I mean? Because
Mm.
like when everyone's in the same scenario, it's cool. But like when you have people and you can see them and you can sense them looking down on you, it's like it's a different type of weight.
Word. I like that. Uh, on to my next question. Would you say this movie has a happy ending?
No.
Mm.
I would say it's definitely a sad ending.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically a sad ending because well they did show that the kid hugs the dad like but I think maybe I misread it, but I thought that was the plan.
Mm.
Like it hasn't actually happened yet,
It was
but
just the thought of.
the thought of and specific I remember the father saying like when you have a plan like it never goes the way you want it to, which is like why I didn't think it was a happy ending, not happy well,
Mm-hmm.
and not a happy movie, but
Mm.
simply because like I thought like oh like that will probably never happen.
Yeah.
It's possible, but like the same way that the whole scheme didn't work out, it in my mind I thought something like that will probably happen.
Yep. It'll all just fuck up at some point. No, and that's a good point of sort of like, I don't know if it was just the plan or if that actually happened. I think that's a good distinction because he is right. Life is fucking messy. And I think that it's an interesting direction to take because why sort of establish that if like that wasn't necessary, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's a good touch and it makes the ending, it really makes you like, oh, it's such a conflicting ending. So don't get me wrong. It's a great part of the movie. It just like if left out, it would leave less to interpretation. And I like that it's in there.
Oh, for sure. It also like I think one of the things that the movie definitely like touched on, which I think we even see today in like America, is like the pull up your bootstraps type mentality.
Oh
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And it was like when the father said like it's like the only plan that doesn't fail is like having no plan. And I really felt that because
Mm,
people don't really like people think, oh, this person's like poor, why don't they just work harder? Like, that's like the American like dumbass people's fucking say that shit. But
trickle
like
down economics, baby.
yeah, but it's like if you're in a situation where you're continuously getting kicked down, you're like no matter what plan you make, it always falls through. You're just like you're starting at so you have no safety net and you're already so far behind in the race. It's like it makes sense to me that people be like, "Oh, well, if you have no plan, then at least you won't feel the feeling of failure, like continuously." It's
Mm.
like it might be better, it might be healthier, or people are able to survive in a way because they can feel like they're not failing all the time.
Yeah. I like that. That's it's interesting though because I know like you are somebody of action, you know? So it's just surprising to hear you have that sort of take on it.
Hmm.
And I honestly I didn't think you would relate to it in that way because as I know you are somebody who likes to have like things ahead of them. Um and sort of motivations and stuff like that. And you're not usually the type of person to be like, go with the flow.
No, I definitely feel you, but it's like I'm very aware of like my position of privilege in American society, and that like a lot of things have been given to me, and I'm in a very good position to achieve more so than a lot of people. And even then, when I do have plans and motivations, I do acknowledge that no matter where you are, like regardless if you're like super poor or you're super rich, when you set a goal and then you fail it, it is like it's just as soul crushing. It's like
Mm-hmm.
whether that be the daily goal to, you know, jog. Maybe you're like maybe a bit overweight and you're like, oh, I'm gonna jog a mile today, and then you don't jog. That same feeling of just like total, just like disappointment in yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the time I find like a lot of people try to avoid that disappointment that people feel in themselves because we kind of want to believe that we're really great and we can do things. But like when you're really faced with that true like almost dislike of yourself at that moment, I feel like that's like a very universal feeling that a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, I guess, sort of hope is the poison that can fuck people up sometimes. I that's sort of what you're saying, right?
Well, yeah, it's like well, you can't achieve without hope.
Mm-hmm.
Without having a goal, you can't achieve the goal. But at the same time, that goal is what will, if you don't achieve it, will also bring you an immense amount of pain. So it's like, will you kind of take the extreme highs and the lows, or will you be at that content, not happy or not sad medium and just exist essentially?
And I think that is a great way to describe the theme of the movie.
Oh, thank you.
Because you have your rich people and just in the movie, in the context of the movie, you have your rich people on top You have your poor people in the middle, and then you have like, I don't want to say he's undesirable, but like that's the role he fills in the movie, who's literally in the basement, you know?
Yeah.
And sort of one is like very like in the middle, it's all a spectrum. And in the middle, it's all gray. And on top, it's whatever, and on the bottom, it's whatever. But those ends are absolute. And I think that can be seen in the characters, you know. You have the rich mom who's like so finicky and like, oh my God, like this happened, like, and so easily fooled. And it's like, yep, decision, bang. And then, you know, the rich dad, he's like, everything is to a T, and, you know, everything is very, very specific. And I know I don't want to come off sort of racist here. I know that's sort of a culture thing, right? Am I wrong saying that?
In terms of
like Korean culture and like being everything like being very like I'm missing a word here. Everything sort of being very, I don't want to say matter of fact, but like everything is a certain way, you know?
rigid.
Like rigid. Thank you. That's yes.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I would say that's very accurate.
Okay, so maybe it's not to be looked at as the father, so to speak, but sort of the upper class as a whole.
Yeah. He's like a microcosm to the upper class.
Thank you for the assist. Yeah, and I just think it's a cool sort of just spectrum that they have there. And you know, and then on the bottom, so to speak, it's like it's somebody who society would deem as like sort of insane, as the son did, you know?
Yeah.
When the son saw him, which I thought was kind of but just the way that they then shot him coming back up versus when the son saw him originally. I like that.
The son being
the rich son who had the seizure, who thought he was a ghost.
For the audience, the rich son saw one of the people that was locked in the basement of their home come up from the basement when he was younger, and it essentially he freaked him out so much. He thought it was a ghost, and he had a seizure, and he had to be taken to the hospital. But it was like, even as a kid, like he saw that person who's a human, and he could only think that was a monster, you know.
Yeah.
I found that really interesting, and like I think one of the things that the movie kind of indirectly shows is the lack of understanding between like the super rich and the super poor, because it was like, well, how could the super rich not figure it out? You know, why couldn't they? Like, you would think that like, oh, there'd be signs that the rich could like see, you know, they had like the smell thing. But it was that I think they couldn't even comprehend what it would be like to live in that scenario.
Yeah.
You know? It's like they just had like a complete disconnect.
Yeah, and the brain just literally just discombobulates.
Yeah, it's like they just can't understand it.
Yeah.
And it goes to show why there's so many problems in terms of like class escalation and stuff like that within these countries, just like America and Korea included, because there's no perspective on what it's like to be poor or what it's like to be rich in a way. So there's no way to really connect them. You know, it's like when you try to make policy and stuff like that about like, oh, well, we don't really want people to be poor, but it's like the people who have the power, who are the rich, can't even comprehend what it's like to be poor. So it's like, how would they fix anything? You know?
Yeah, lack of understanding is definitely another theme, I would say, in this movie. Just between almost everyone besides the original, besides the our sort of main family. I also I have one more sort of parallel for you, sort of foreshadowing. And then I think we're gonna wrap up soon. So just this was something that I wrote down originally. So when they're escaping the home, right? The sister, and this is that night when the rich family comes back home. The sister gets cut, right, and bleeds. The father gets like tripped up and has to like remain hidden before he can like escape. And the son gets out like relatively scot-free, and so does the mother. I thought
Of the
that
rich
was
family.
no. Of our main family. Remember when they're all like hiding under the table, and then what's her name? The sister gets cut on the glass.
Yeah.
I thought that was like a little bit of foreshadowing. Yeah.
You know, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're definitely right. In terms of like them, when it was like foreshadowing for when they get like exposed, you know, like and you know who dies when.
Yep. Yeah.
But it definitely like one of the things again that like really struck me about the movie was just like almost like the helplessness. You know what I mean? Of like being in their scenario. You know, like they're legit folding boxes so they can survive, and they have a plan. And even though the plan goes like perfectly, you know, like basically perfectly, it still falls apart. So it's like what could they do?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And what can they do?
Yeah, it's adapt or die, right?
Yeah, and it's like, and they can only survive by like taking. It's like there's no way for them to achieve on their own. Almost, it's like they can only like they have to be someone else, or they have to take from someone else, and it's not like, and I'm not like, you know, I'm not like looking down on them or anything like that, or I just think that was like a reality that the movie showed, that the opportunities that are given to people that don't necessarily have a leg to stand on are almost non-existent.
You should watch The Platform.
Is that another movie?
It's a Netflix movie. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's sort of about like people being on top and bottom and blah 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 blah. I don't want to give too much, but definitely another movie I recommend. Just one last question. What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene. I think my favorite scene was when they were running home in the rain. The whole like rain scene and into the flood. I thought that was like a really great scene. Just because all like the compounding like stress and everything coming down, like representing in water and like crashing through the neighborhood
and the deluge and the shit.
it was definitely like, to me, just like super intense, just incredibly well shot, and just it was definitely my favorite scene in the movie, I think.
Yeah, that scene for me is great because it's not only literally everything coming down and shit is overflowing, but
shit hits the fan.
It's also a metaphor for sort of what's happening and what's about to happen. And I completely sign off on that. I think maybe my favorite scene, it's such a tough one for me because there's some really interesting scenes in this movie. I think it's sort of when they're lying under the table, and they sort of have this voyeur view, or sort of they're experiencing a voyeur sort of sexual experience because, you know, the husband and the wife of the rich family they're getting freaky on the pillows, and they just got to sit there and wait for them to be done.
But they're also role playing what it's like to be poor, which was the part that had me just like dying.
Yep.
Because it showed that they just didn't understand it all.
No, not
but they
at all.
Also still fetishized it, which was just so weird.
Yeah. Yeah, she was like, "Oh, get drugs." And it was like, bro, what?
And the thing is, it's accurate because we see this in America where people fetishize being put upon.
Mm-hmm.
It happens here all the time. Like everyone wants that, like the feeling that they're achieving or that they're below or they have some sort of excuse. It's a very interesting phenomenon that I've definitely seen happen a lot.
What
recently.
did we what Olympics? What did we call it in an earlier podcast?
Oh, is it the Oppression Olympics?
The Oppression Olympics. There we go.
Yeah, it's strange. But okay, so for viewers that don't know, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just with that scene with them under the table, like it's probably the second most intense scene of the movie, just in terms of like complete unknowing and just like it just keeps you fucking guessing. And I just think it's sort of that scene itself is a microcosm of the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, Bill, for the viewers that don't know, I literally have just watched this movie like right before the podcast, so it's very fresh. So I don't really have many questions, but one question I do have for you, Colin, would be, what do you think? What do you think our viewers or just everyday people could take away from this movie in terms of like a lesson or
I think people should take this as a lesson to try and understand other people.
Agreed.
Sure. And literally the only one who's like who really is understanding is the friend who gives them the rock. Because clearly he's like in a higher social position than them in life, and he's like still, he just like hangs out with them, gives them a very nice present, and just like he's drinking with the son. And I thought that was like, wow, like he's got a friend who clearly isn't in the same social class as him, but he's still, they're still represented as equals more or less.
Yeah, but it also that situation, the fact that this only happened, the whole story only happened because someone of the almost upper class came down and gave them the opportunity. Yeah, was something that was also very like apparent to me in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, word.
So one thing I would like people, or I took away, I should say, one thing I took away from the movie was just like being aware of how my status affects my perception. And just acknowledging that our scope of vision is so limited. And it definitely is something that I think I should be more aware of when just like being with other people and just like understanding that my life is just very small in terms of the grand scheme of like rich people, poor people, and just
the world.
I just like my vision is very limited, and I think it's important to act knowing that your vision is very limited.
Yeah, I fuck with that. That's take that with you, people. Seriously, that's some good shit, man. You got anything else before we wrap up? I think we're like almost at an hour. Jeez.
Yeah, I think we're
I didn't think we'd go for this
50-something movie. Neither did I, but it was also a fantastic movie.
Oh my God. To be honest with you, I could talk for 2 more hours about it, but not for podcast.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to add, but I do think it's a movie that
you're going to have to watch it again.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch it again, but like it's a movie people should watch, but it also like, especially for Americans, like just to see how social dynamics work outside of our country and relating it to our country, because it's really not that different.
Also, if you're gonna not watch this movie because it's not in English, I don't want to read subtitles, shut up, stop being a 5-year-old and watch this fucking movie. It's like, I swear, it's like the best movie of the past 5 years. There's recency bias, of course, but oh my God, this is such a good movie. All right. Anything else, Cameron?
No, that's it for me.
Thank y'all so much for sticking around for Quentin Quarantino Part 2. We really, really, really appreciate it. Any shout outs to give, Cameron?
Shout outs to @Snakebone for that last interview. I always gotta say it was like definitely one of the most fun podcasts we've done.
Yeah.
And shout outs to him. And
what up, Snakebone?
Shout outs to my BSU for being very involved in the Black Lives Matter movement right now, making sure that everyone is working together to try to change the situation, as well as supporting each other in a very heartwarming way. Shout outs to the BSU fam.
Shout outs to that. Yeah, absolutely. You know, we didn't I don't know. It was kind of a rough week last 2 weeks for me, and you know, I'm not even black, so I can't ever imagine what it is like. But that's honestly for another podcast.
I will say everyone's problems are relative, so
use perspective.
Yeah, even like, don't feel like you should feel bad if you're white or if you're not black. Have like, it's all empathy, but don't minimize your own problems, because all problems are relative, and I think that everyone's problems do matter. Even though right now I believe it is a time for us to rally around this issue, but
Cameron, all lives matter.
Yeah. But this is a time where, like, you know, you pay it forward. You know, we work together now, and then when it's someone else's issue, we work together to fix that issue. I don't think all the issues don't have to be about us.
Exactly. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Anchor. It sounds like I'm just picking vowels, or not vowels. It sounds like I'm just picking random, you know, nouns, but I promise I'm not.
And not Facebook.
And not Facebook. We are not on Facebook as of yet. Maybe that'll happen soon. I don't know. I don't really see the need for it, but I think it would be maybe better to reach audience. Anyway, check out our live streams every Wednesday and every Friday from 7 to 10 with yours truly and Cameron hanging out. We're going to be playing some Super Smash Bros. Soon, so if you think you're better than us, you're probably not. And
Snap into the arena.
Snap into the arena. Dead ass. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope everyone has a great night. And Cameron, good job by you.
Thank you. To you as well, sir.
Thank you. See you guys.
Peace.